So this video is going to talk a little bit about a few use cases for different assessment settings. So let's go ahead and scroll down into our assessment settings here. And I'm going to start with what I call sort of the MyOpenMath default homework setup. You're going to find this in almost all the template courses on homework assignments. So for the display method, we're going to use skip around. This allows students to jump between questions in any order, and that's really nice on homework. Default points per problem, use whatever you like here. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as 1. For default attempts for homework, I usually like to give students at least 2, sometimes 3 attempts on each version of the problem. That way, if they miss the problem on the first try, they can go back and see if they forgot a negative or missed a parenthesis or something simple like that. And it gives them a chance to correct those mistakes. And then I'm not going to take any penalty for that second attempt. And for feedback method, we're going to use the homework method. Now, this is designed for formative homework. So the setting that we're developing here is a formative assessment feedback, meaning that they're going to be allowed to use a similar question to replace a missed question, and that means a full credit replacement, regardless of what you put here in the penalty. The penalty only applies to reattempts, not regenerations, not new versions. And then, because again this is meant as a learning experience, I'm going to go ahead and set the show answers to after the last attempt. So they're going to get 2 attempts, and then it will show them the answer after that last attempt. So let's see what this looks like. So that means if I try this problem and I get it wrong, it's going to give me another try at this problem, or I can go ahead and ask for a new version. So I'm going to make another try at it. I'm going to get it wrong again. And notice now that it's showing me the answer. So this is like a student looking in the back of the book. Hopefully they can diagnose where they made their mistake. Obviously this problem not so much, but maybe for a more complicated problem. And then they can say, give me another one. And it's going to generate them a new version of the problem. And if the student gets this question right, it's going to go ahead and give them full credit. Okay, so this is really formative assessment. This is designed for students to be able to keep on practicing the problems until they get it right. So now let's imagine that we wanted a homework assignment still, but something that was a little bit more punitive. Something where the student can't get full credit by trying the problems over and over again. So maybe you want the student to be able to get 100% on the first try, 90% on the third try, second try, 80% on the third try, so on and so forth. But you only want them to be able to have, let's say, 5 tries. So in order to do that, we're going to need to take it off of the homework mode. So we're going to put it back on show score on each question as it's submitted. And now we can go ahead and maybe put on a penalty and limit the number of attempts. So maybe we'll allow them 5 attempts, 10% penalty on each one. And now at this point, it's going to give them 5 tries at one version of the problem. But chances are, what you're really wanting is for them to be able to have 5 different tries at 5 different problems. And for that, we click the reattempts different versions button option there. So now what will happen, if we go ahead and save that, is I'm going to get this problem. I'm going to go ahead and try it once, and I'm going to get it wrong. Oh shoot. So now I'm going to say reattempt last problem, and you'll notice 2 things. First off, it's a new version of the problem. So it's not a reattempt of the same version, it's a reattempt of a new version. Second thing you'll notice is that now the points available on this attempt are only 90% because of that penalty, and it's attempt 2 of 5. And so if I go ahead and get it right on this attempt, my score before the penalty is 1 out of 1, but my score after the penalty, the score that goes in the grade book, is only 0.9 out of 1, or 90%. Okay? And so this allows for homework where students can't get full credit if they miss the problem on the first try. So now let's look at what might be more like a test or quiz setting. So there's a couple different quiz scenarios that you might have. One is exactly what we just did. So like the punitive homework, you could set up a quiz allowing them to try 5 different versions, or maybe only 2 or 3 different versions of each problem, uh, but they can't get full credit if they don't perform it on the first try. So this setting, which could, like I say, be a punitive homework, could also be a very reasonable quiz setting. Now, another option for quizzes, if you don't want to allow them multiple versions, is to just go ahead and turn off that reattempts different versions. So on a quiz, I would very commonly give my students, let's say, 3 tries at a problem, but take off 20% on each attempt. And then, if the student comes in, they miss the problem on the first attempt, then they can try the same problem again and get maybe partial credit. Maybe they miss it again, who knows. Notice there's no option here for a new version, so this is sort of a single version quiz or test. And so the student gets one version of each problem, and their score is based on that. And then, of course, there's other ways you can modify this. So you could, for example, usually if you're going to allow them multiple attempts, they need to know how they did. But if this was like a true test, you might do 1 attempt per problem and just show them the final score, or just show them the score at the end of the test, so that they're not seeing how they're doing as they go through the test itself. And then, of course, another option here is, particularly with a full test, you could show them the entire test at once. They answer all the questions, hit submit once at the very end. So, several options there. Again, sort of 2 different approaches to homework, and then various options for if you wanted to do something that's more quiz-like.